Pablo Escobar wasn't a man who bowed to others. However, there was one person he always treated with absolute respect: Don Fabio Ochoa Restrepo, a calm, rural-looking man, a horse lover, and someone everyone simply called Don Fabio.
Don Pablo Escobar.
Today I'm going to tell you the story of Don Fabio Ochoa, the patriarch of the Ochoa clan and the only man Pablo Escobar truly respected in his entire life. Fabio Ochoa Restrepo, or simply known as Don Fabio, was a wealthy cattle rancher from Antioquia, a successful businessman and a passionate breeder of fine Paso horses. For decades, he was well known in his region for having built his fortune through famous ranches and restaurants. But above all, he was the patriarch of the Ochoa Vasquez family. He was the father of three sons: Jorge Luis, Juan David, and Fabio Ochoa Vasquez, better known as Fabito. They were known as the Ochoa brothers. These weren't just any men. They became notorious drug traffickers and high-ranking members of the Medellín Cartel, which they founded alongside Pablo Escobar. The story of this family's involvement in the drug trade dates back to the 1970s, during the rise of cocaine trafficking in Colombia. The Ochoa brothers and their father dove headfirst into the business, with Jorge Luis Ochoa, the eldest of the siblings. He was the first to open routes into the United States and secured key contacts to ship cocaine. Later, after handling a few shipments, he brought his two younger brothers into the operation. Eventually, together with Pablo Escobar and other Paisa kingpins, they founded the Medellín Cartel in 1978, a criminal empire that would go on to control 80% of the world's cocaine supply. It's no coincidence that Escobar appeared on Forbes' list of billionaires for 7 consecutive years. The Ochoas, second in command after Escobar, also managed to build enormous fortunes. Still, they kept up a facade of respectability thanks to their father. In the eyes of the public, they were seen as elegant horsemen, traditional landowners, and successful businessmen from Medellín. But beneath that polished image, they were major players in the global cocaine empire. So what was Don Fabio's relationship with Pablo Escobar like? You could say Don Fabio was almost a father figure to him. Keep in mind, Fabio Ochoa was 25 years older than Pablo. Don Fabio was a true gentleman, calm, experienced, and with a strong aura of respect. He wasn't a young gun chasing fame, but an older businessman who preferred discretion and peace. Pablo Escobar valued Don Fabio's position and experience. It's said that he treated him with genuine respect, always calling him Don Fabio as a sign of reverence. And although he was a key figure in the world of drug trafficking, Don Fabio never lost his composure and was never a violent man. Escobar admired his cold intelligence and natural authority as a patriarch. And he wasn't just respected by drug lords like Pablo. Most of Colombia's elite simply saw him as a prosperous cattle rancher. That duality allowed him to operate as a shadow figure of power. He supported his sons and allies, but without ever getting his hands dirty. And Escobar knew it. That's why he held a special kind of respect for him.
Saludo a mis hijos, mis nietos, mis amigos y todos los caballistas en general.
Don Fabio represented the old-school mafia, built on family codes, discretion, and honor, a far cry from the indiscriminate violence that defined Pablo. The most curious part is that by the end of that decade, his sons were already on the FBI's list of the 10 most wanted criminals, while Don Fabio was profiting from the same illicit business, quietly, without fame and without being pursued by the government. In reality, there was no evidence to incriminate Don Fabio, while there was plenty against his sons. That mutual respect, because Don Fabio also had deep respect for Pablo Escobar, was solidified by the kidnapping of Marta Nieves Ochoa, Don Fabio's daughter and the youngest sister of the Ochoa brothers. This happened in late 1981. In November of that year, Marta Nieves was leaving her university in Medellín when she was intercepted by armed men and forced into a car. Who was behind it? A commando unit from the M19 Urban Guerrilla Group, which at the time was also seeking power. They knew that kidnapping the daughter of powerful drug traffickers could bring in a massive ransom. When Don Fabio received the news, it's said to have been a devastating blow, especially since she was his youngest daughter. The incident unleashed the fury of Medellín's top drug lords, including Pablo Escobar. On December 1st, 1981, just weeks after the abduction, the Ochoa brothers called for an emergency meeting in Medellín. Dozens of Colombia's drug bosses attended, along with some of the wealthiest cattle ranchers, all worried about the safety of their own families. Each capo contributed money and armed men. In the end, they formed a private army of over 2,000 hitmen ready to rescue Marta and let the guerrilla know they were messing with the wrong people. This paramilitary group was called MAS, short for Death to Kidnappers. The pressure they exerted was so overwhelming that, after 92 days in captivity, the guerrilla released Marta Neves without receiving a single peso in ransom. Imagine the relief and joy Don Fabio must have felt when he got his daughter back safe and sound. Pablo Escobar, who had supported the creation of MAS, also reinforced his alliance with the Ochoa family during those difficult hours. Escobar had been there for the Ochoa family when they needed him the most. But unfortunately, as with most relationships between criminals, the relationship between Pablo Escobar and the Ochoa clan wouldn't always be smooth sailing. In 1990, President Cesar Gaviria offered a law for voluntary surrender. Basically, he promised no extradition to the United States, reduced sentences, and fair treatment for any drug trafficker who turned themselves in. Many kingpins saw it as their lifeline, and this is where Don Fabio once again showed his authority. According to his own daughter, as soon as the offer was made public, Don Fabio called his 3 sons and gave them a direct order. Now turn yourselves in and take responsibility for your mistakes. Without hesitation, Jorge Luis, Juan David, and Fabito obeyed their father. Think about the weight of those words. He didn't suggest it, he ordered it. And the 3 capos, who by then were internationally feared, followed that command. It's said that the Ochoa brothers, ready to pay for their crimes at their father's command, tried to convince Escobar to do the same.
Que el presidente decía que se estaban estudiando todas las posibilidades para un tratamiento menos riguroso para los que se presenten ante la justicia.
But Pablo flatly rejected the idea. In essence, Escobar was telling them he hadn't come this far just to surrender like an ordinary criminal. That response marked the definitive break between Escobar and the Ochoa family. To Escobar, that moment felt like betrayal. The end of Don Fabio Ochoa's story was very different from that of Pablo Escobar. After his sons surrendered in 1991, he practically withdrew from any public controversy. He returned to what he considered his true life: horses, legal businesses, and family. The life he always claimed as his own, not that of a drug trafficker. By then, he was already dealing with health issues related to his age, worsened by his weight. On February 18, 2002, Don Fabio died at the age of 77 in his home in Envigado, Antioquia, due to kidney failure. He died the same way he lived much of his life, dedicated to breeding fine Paso horses. He never set foot in prison, nor was he ever involved in any act of violence. What is known is that he was deeply respected, even by the drug lords he associated with, a contradiction that led many to believe he was involved in illicit activities. Still, nothing was ever proven, and he was never convicted by the government. What is certain is that this man was one of the most respected figures in Colombia, even by the most powerful drug lord in the world, Pablo Escobar. Thanks for watching till the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like to have a photograph capturing an iconic moment from the underworld on your wall, I invite you to visit our website. There you'll find more than 200 images carefully hand-selected by me. You can get them as prints or canvas pieces, and every purchase also supports the channel, something I truly appreciate. See you in the next video.